Michael Francis, JP Miller updates. I saw this one. Does Regina Ward have more? We got Shay Zonay. Shout out to Shane. But let's watch these videos. Let's discuss. Let's talk about this stuff. Let's find out. Please make sure YouTube, find everybody that we watch. Find all the creators down in the description. Give them a subscribe. Go support their channels. Go check them out. Follow them on all the socials. Everybody that we watch, all three videos, it's all pinned down in the description. So huge shout out to everybody. Thank you for doing that. I love you guys. YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. All right, let's go. I'm going to shrink myself down. Shane, what you got for us today? What you got for us today? Let's go.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Shane. For those who are new, welcome back. If you're returning, my last video with the Mica Francis case, we were looking at Regina Ward and her interview and talking about what's going to happen next after they reached a global settlement. Part 1 will be linked down below if you missed it and want to check it out. Otherwise, we're going to continue right where we left off.
I want to shift gears to the criminal side of this. There have been reports, several media outlets here on the coast, national outlets as well, have reported that there's a federal component to this investigation beyond the Robeson County investigation into Micah's death. We've also been told that there are investigations related to other potential victims of John Paul Miller. Let me ask you this. What can you tell us from your perspective about any potential criminal investigations into John Paul, and are any of your clients cooperating with those?
Right. So one of the things that I have said over and over is basically, for instance, I have an order stating that Micah's personal property, when the legal authorities are finished with their investigation, that it'll be returned to my office. I have sent a couple of letters to the Robeson County Sheriff's Department saying, hey, I have an order. Give us the stuff because you've completed your investigation from what we understand, right? You have your finding. So they denied the request, so they were not going to release the property at this time.
By the way, if you're catching up from part 1, we learned that Micah's Apple Watch is currently being investigated, and Regina requested it, and basically law enforcement is not releasing it until they're done with their investigation. So that's what she's talking about, in case you missed the context from part 1.
Basically, the FBI had come. They had called in the FBI, and at this point, they're not going to release the property. They wouldn't tell me specifically why. But it was like the order says I get it when all legal authorities are complete. And so they've not released it to me. So I think
what does it mean?
I think that is an indication that something is still going on. As far as me having direct knowledge of it, no. And as far as them investigating or interviewing as well, certainly the family is cooperative in that manner. If and when asked, certainly we feel like we have a lot to offer up.
Obviously.
Yes.
Let me ask this question. There are 2 lines of inquiry that we've been reliably informed are underway. An investigation into finances, potential assets that John Paul Miller may have hidden, commingled, perhaps laundered, some have suggested. But then there's also allegations regarding to abuse, harassment, stalking, assault.
Yes.
Not to mention him allegedly using church funds in order to hire these private investigators to stalk his wife, but we're going to glaze over that one.
Yes. As those allegations kind of hang out there, obviously we have seen documented in detail in court filings from Micah's family, from her friends, from the first wife of John Paul Miller, who alleged a host of abuse. Would it surprise you if there were those twin paths to this investigation?
Not be surprised at all, and actually hopeful. And as Micah said, God will come and he will take care of everything.
That's true. Let me ask this question. Arguably the most significant component of this story, and I think you would attest to this at your press conference in the immediate aftermath of one of the first hearings where, yes, there were some items to discuss about what transpired in the court that day, but the focus of what you talked about and what I gather from watching the family on social media, one of their main focuses is how to protect other women, or other spouses, other people in relationships from being victimized in the same way that Mica was. And
Absolutely.
So the hashtag is justice for Mica, but the push on the coercive control legislation seems to be much bigger. Let me ask you this. There have been coercive control reform bills filed in South Carolina. They haven't gotten anywhere. Where do you see this debate going? And let's talk a little bit about that issue, what you see as sort of the key pillars of an effective piece of legislation here in South Carolina.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for asking that, because I think that it is critical. One of the wonderful things that has happened out of this horrible situation is that it has put a ginormous spotlight on this problem. This problem has existed forever. Women particularly, and I know that men are in the same situation, but let's be honest, it's primarily women. Okay. And it is critical now that this has been brought to light that something be done about it. Because I'll tell you right now, if that bill or that had been made a law, and if that law had been put into place several years before this happened to Mica, there is no doubt in my mind that this possibility she would still be alive. And the reason for that is because every single place that she went to get help, I mean every place that she went to get help, she didn't get the help. She didn't get the help that she needed to escape from that situation.
Yeah, I feel like this is a problem overall. I can say
that is absolutely horrible.
Briefly, from an experience of my own, I was having an issue with a gas station attendant. His remarks just kept getting creepier and creepier. He had always come in, like you could always smell alcohol on his breath, and he used to be an employee there. But I don't know, he was like supposed to move and didn't. I think he was just having some issues. Anyways, I went in one time and I wasn't even by myself, but I think he was a customer, not even working this day. And he came up behind me and like bear hugged me. And due to an extensive history with SA, it put me into an immediate panic attack. Long story short, I was basically told the same thing, that there was nothing that they could do because he didn't technically do anything. I wanted to file the report.
He did do something. That's battery. That's unwanted touch. Man, you should. Where do you live? That would have been straight up. I felt like my life was in danger, Your Honor. Somebody comes up and bear hugs you from behind, and then you realize that it's some creepy guy that has been terrifying you for a while. Oh, hell no.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
And the person that you were with, was it like a boyfriend or something? Because what did that guy do? That dude should have went, the hell did you just do to my girl? You just want to bear hug her and she doesn't know you? I mean, if it's a friend or something like that and it's like somebody that she's cool with and he's like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, okay, maybe. I'd be like, it's a little weird, but maybe give her a hug front way. It's not bear hug from behind. But if the second I see, she said she had a panic attack. The second I see that, oh, later. Good night, sir. You'll wake up in 6 months eating through a straw. I mean, you crazy as hell. Allegedly TikTok and YouTube. But I'm just saying, like, man, that's crazy. That's crazy she had to deal with that, though, man. I don't even know what would happen.
Report just so that there was something reported in case something unfortunately did happen. At least I had reported a prior incident that could be pulled up again. So I know this happens. I had made a whole video about it when it happened because I was so distressed, because I was already going back and forth in my mind morally of what to do. So finally, when I got the courage to try to put a stop to this guy being a creep, I literally went to law enforcement and they told me to turn around and go away. There are still things pending, but I had to go and try to get a restraining order on somebody. And I say try because even though this person kept showing up to my house and allegedly his friends were also watching me and stuff, it wasn't enough to go get a restraining order on someone. So I 100% believe that everywhere that Mica went, she was turned away for help. And this really needs to change.
That is crazy as hell. First off, it's crazy as hell that y'all or anybody has to deal with that. That's insane to me that they can't get the help that they need. And second off, it's crazy as hell that these dudes are being that crazy. What the hell is wrong with people? Brooke, thank you for gifting a membership. Let's go. But what the hell is wrong with these people? Bro, she broke up with you. Move the hell on. She divorced you. Move the hell on. My word.
And it's because the laws are not set up. They can actually be abused, and that was happening. So had that been in place, it would have created stumbling blocks to start with. Okay, the police would have had something to look to. Whenever police hear I'm being abused, they say, where are the marks? Okay, they're looking for physical evidence. This is abuse that does not leave marks on your body, but it leaves horrible marks on the psyche, the mind, and self-confidence of a person. And it is difficult for an officer to show up and determine, is this a coercive control situation? And so I believe that people are a little bit hesitant about it, because when you take the items one by one, in and of themselves do not seem to be something that would be considered illegal in and of itself. And the point is that all of the different types of tactics and examples of coercive control that is outlined in the bill, you have to put them together, and in the totality of the circumstances, pulling all of that together, then appears the crime. So the problem with that is that there may be an opportunity to abuse even that situation, okay, or that it goes too far, that it crosses the line, that an alleged victim is utilizing that actually for a control tactic reversed. So the way
how do we prevent that from happening, though? Is there a way to draw the line?
Absolutely. I have a theory. My theory is this. First of all, whenever police officers show up to any place where there's an alleged crime, they investigate, they ask questions, they do that sort of a thing. Usually police officers are going to arrest someone whenever there's, probable cause for the arrest that they can see. Marks on the hand, whatever, the bruise. That is probable cause that they can see, so they can make that arrest. Now, if there's a situation that's much bigger, in other words, like a felony, those require a warrant, okay? So that means that if an officer observes these types of behaviors and says, hey, I'm not sure, but it appears that this may be a coercive control situation. I can't arrest this guy on sight, but let me take this information to our local magistrate. And then the magistrate looks at it and determines, compares it to the law that will, hopefully be written one day, compares it to the law and determines whether there's probable cause. More likely than not, that's what that means. More likely than not that there is a crime occurring here. And then they can take that warrant and execute the warrant and pick up the person and arrest them for it. And then at that point, it's going to be up to the solicitor to garner the rest of the evidence, the journals, the patterns, the 19 phone calls to the police, and all the things that have been reported. So then that to me would afford some protection from utilizing the law itself as a tool against someone else. But it's critically important that it goes a step further, because once someone is arrested for that crime, we'll call it for that crime, I think that the next step that needs to happen is when they get before the bondsman, which they're going to get, and of course, once they get out, they are mad, right? So I think that it should be mandatory that anyone who's arrested under coercive control must wear a GPS monitor. No questions about it. It has definitely got to be one part mandatory as part of a bond that's being issued.
Yeah, but remember we had that one case that we talked about where the dude was supposed to get fitted for one, didn't show up, and then got arrested again, and then was like, oh, my bad, I'm gonna go show up. And then he goes to the place, and as he's standing there, the guy's like, oh, are you supposed to have this? And he was like, oh, no, I don't think so. And they were like, oh, okay. And then they just let him go, and he drove from Tennessee to Mississippi and took that girl's life. Man, it's crazy as hell. Or he had one on and he had to get refitted, but then he was like, oh, I'm not supposed to have this on at all. Remember that? Shit crazy as hell. Oh my God, what's wrong with these people?
So I think warrants are the way to do that. They can collect the evidence and have a magistrate determine if that's something that should be executed or not.
And in this,
I don't understand how JP got away with so much. I mean, the tracking, like, this is all just okay. There's too many holes in the law, I believe, that you can get away with so much until you basically commit an act. And I think we need more laws put in place for protection. Like she was alluding to, the GPS trackers on people who are found guilty of coercive control, and so on and so forth. But this is definitely something that I think needs to be worked on and talked about.
he's had some of those statutes been on the books, and that probable cause, more likely than not.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how that could have impacted what happened to Mica Miller.
Well, in terms of, for instance, whenever you call police, when you're at home in your jurisdiction, usually the police officers, when they're assigned, they're familiar with whatever territory. They also can look up quickly and say, oh, have we ever been in this home before? So they're like, oh, they're calling again. They called about this before. So the police officers can pick up a pattern with regard to actual calls. So had that happened, that would have alerted the police officer that there was a bit more going on here. I also think that there would have been an opportunity. Sometimes what police do, or a lot of times what they do, is they try to diffuse a situation when they get there to see, oh, let's see what's happening. Oh, you took her cell phone, you give it back to her, and and diffuse the situation. Sometimes what they'll do is encourage. Sir, you need to, can you guys stay at your mom's or your best friend's tonight till everything calms down? Or maybe there's a situation where people are, under the influence of alcohol and they're acting out in things that you do whenever you're under alcohol and may not do, sober. So, and then also interviewing her when she would say,
Soul Search in the house. Go subscribe.
Things like, he's put trackers on me. He's, following me everywhere. He's showing up in places I wouldn't expect him to show up. I'm in the middle of lunch and he turned off my cell phone, and he demoralizes me. He's called me names. He sent me threatening letters.
Aaliyah, thank you.
He's incessantly calling me. I've told him over and over and over and over again.
Hold on. Sorry, my back is killing me. I just have to adjust. Okay.
Stop contacting me. And even after a police officer told him to stop contacting her, he did again. So when she's sitting there verbalizing all of these different things in the story, then the radar goes off into the police officer, who would say, hey, I think this is something that we need to report and put together, do an affidavit and submit it to the judge to see if the judge thinks there's enough here to issue a warrant for his arrest for violating coercive control.
You mentioned earlier that Mica was failed by the system, that she did the things that we want people to do, that we tell people to do, even though it was a conflict for her to do those things in some cases, difficult for her to do, but she nonetheless did those things. If a law is passed that addresses some of these issues, these deficiencies, as you refer in the coercive control arena, if we don't have officers, prosecutors, judges who are going to consistently enforce those statutes, someone who has connections with law enforcement like John Paul Miller, we keep hearing that you don't know how powerful this guy is, the church and these connections he has. How does that play into it?
Well, I think that, education is key here. I understand, people have sometimes legitimate concerns about the status or the position or the power of someone. If there are resources made available, which they are not in Horry County, it's so embarrassing that there has not been a battered women's.
I just realized I've been pronouncing it Horry County, and she said Horry County. I don't think the H is pronounced.
Shelter here in over a decade, which is just disgusting, in my opinion. There's not enough resources. There are actually a couple of websites that a person can go to get some information on what can I do, where do I go, how do I get help. And I actually sat down one evening and
I wonder when the last time those websites got updated. Because, man, anytime somebody's like, well, just go to the website. Oh, my God. Like, you're better off, I don't know, trying to find, like, a message in a bottle. Like, just, what? Oh. I mean, these websites look like they were made in Microsoft Paint. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, dear Lord in heaven. This is crazy as hell. Global, shout out. Thanks. Shout out to the teachers. Thank you for all that. Very sweet of you.
Role played for a minute. I said, okay, I'm going to pretend that I'm in a coercive control relationship and that he's gone to sleep and or passed out drunk, whatever it is. I got a few minutes to get on the computer that he does not allow me to get on. And I got on there and I tried to do some research real fast. A bunch of junk popped up. And then finally I got to a place where I'm still breathing heavy, thinking he's going to wake up any minute from me clicking on the keys, right? A website pops up and says, I'm basically at the right place and what can I do? And it was call a number and also if it had what they called a exit button, because if he walks in and sees him on the computer, it's, what are you doing on the computer? What were you looking up? What were you doing? Okay, so you want to have something on the screen that says, I was looking up a recipe, or something.
I remember, again, when I was going for my own restraining order in the court, I ended up speaking to people from, I'm not going to name, for safety reasons, I'm not going to name the program because I think it's different in different areas of the country. But it was basically like a safe haven place. I called and I explained the situation. And it really wasn't anything more than just like, oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't leave my home. There was no real place to go, But when I called, I do remember one of the first things they asked me when I answered was that, am I in a safe place, or is there like a chance that someone could see or hear what I was doing that I didn't want to? She's talking about here, victims going onto websites and looking for safe havens. If the perpetrator did happen to come up behind your shoulder or see what you were doing, that it would appear as like a recipe page or like something other than, what they were actually looking for it. But it's for safety. Trust me, it's.
And so that website.
That is, I cannot believe that there's crazy people doing that kind of stuff, that you have to pretend like you have a recipe page to pull up because that person is gonna like get, what the hell? Oh my God, who are these people? Who are these people?
I had an
So sad.
exit button, and when you hit the exit button, it's supposed to take you to a weather station. When I hit the exit button, it went to the Google search bar. So the question then would have been, what were you about to look up? Okay.
Yeah, that's not, they gotta fix that.
It's not working properly. And I really, honestly, I cannot figure out for the life of me why people in general, and especially people who are in power that can make a difference, do not really have any sympathy or have any concern about the gravity of abuse in a home. It's like, it's not happening to me. It doesn't exist. Another thing is like, and I know this is just slightly off topic, but I'm
Because people are crazy as hell and selfish.
just incensed in how it's not being properly addressed, any form of abuse. There's this, I don't know, they're supposed to have this operation to help with, people who are in human trafficking, sex trafficking and things like that in the state.
Entertainment and educational purposes only, TikTok overlords. Entertainment and educational purposes only.
The governor who else was just applauding themselves and what they're doing. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. I walked through an airport and there was a tiny little sign that said, if you're a victim, call this number, which was a number that no one would ever be able to memorize. Can we get a hashtag 12, a hashtag something that's
Quick text code or
something that's easy, something, 1-800 help me or say.
Oh yeah, we have 911. You have what is the UK's 999? Something simple, easy to remember. Not that you have to stare at a sign and try to remember it. If you're a victim, oh, let me just write it down real quick. Yeah, I see the point that she's trying to make.
Or something. It was the number.
Suicide prevention line.
Yes, it was ridiculous to me. I was like, this is laughable and it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. That same information, which should have been on the back of every single door of every stall in there, because and there should be hot phones on the wall that whenever you walk by, you can grab it real fast and say, help me. What's going to happen? Boom, cameras are on it. Notice has gone out. Can we get some real help out here? And that's the thing, that people, our government, or the folks who are supposed to be helping, who walk around and pretend that they are and tout that they are. Okay, where's our abuse shelter for women? It's not here.
I really love the idea that she had of like literally on the back of every bathroom stall or just plastered everywhere. It doesn't even have to be hideous, but you can place it in strategic places where it's accessible everywhere. I love the idea of that, for having like a hotline, because you think not just coercive control when it comes to relationships, all the trafficking we're hearing about. I think it would be a major step forward, even doing something as simple as that.
Actual real solid resources. There is a resource booklet that I downloaded, and it gave phone numbers to call. Oh, if you're in an abusive situation, call this number. I called it. It was out of service. Please help me, somebody.
There are powerful election
That is crazy as hell.
officials here. I mean, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the South Carolina Senate, Luke Rankin, represents this area. Where is he?
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to know where he is, but I'll tell you this. He cried like a baby on Facebook because I called him out for not doing his job.
Senator Rankin.
Excuse me?
Senator Rankin did.
Senator Luke Rankin cried like a baby on Facebook because I called him out. He was, and still is, head of the Judiciary Committee. Micah's Law is what I'm going to call it, the Coercive Control Bill, was introduced multiple times, twice in the House and once in the Senate. You get it in the Senate, you got the most powerful senator that's there, head of the judiciary. You think he's got some power? Yes, he's got power. So he failed to use the power to take care of the citizens of the state of South Carolina. He walks around saying that he made a difference or makes a difference, that he's done so much for this county or this state, etc. Please, please, please tell me why. Please tell me why, when there was a request put forward for money to build a battered women's shelter, which we haven't had for 12 years. We refer everybody down to Georgetown. Good luck getting there. Where is the money for that? So there are two very fine gentlemen who have been working on the project, Fred Nesta and Mike King. They themselves, just citizens. They're not involved in government. Saw this need, and they have been working diligently to try to raise the money for years, raise enough money to build this shelter. They were successful in finding, a wonderful donor, a benefactor who gave land for it. They put together the plans, the drawings, and so forth. Turns out they needed about $3 million. $3 million. So they go before, have someone put forth a request in the budget to have some money, given to them to help do this very, very important thing that helps a lot of people in our community. They were shot down on the $3 million. But they were kind enough to give them $1 million. That's a lot of money. That's great, but we need 3. So fast forward a little bit, and there was a request put in by another local representative for $3 million. The $3 million that was needed for the $6 or $7 million building that's being built for the dog pound, homeless animals. Homeless animals got $3 million while he approved $1 million for abused women.
You what? Man, that is crazy as hell. Whoa. They denied $3 million for the shelter, but then they approved it for a dog pound. Sweet Jesus, that is insane.
Children.
I love Old Yeller just as much as the next person. But are you kidding me? I try to keep my opinions at a minimum because I really just try to react. But some things I can't. Why is it that a group of older men called the Senate who are passing these laws get to then determine how much danger and how much protection and how much safety needs to be offered to women?
Already problem.
I think you're out of touch. He's out of touch with what's important to the citizens. I like these things about, we're going to, make the roads better and whatever.
That's great.
How about we start with the quality of life inside the home of people? How about we go to that place? How about we put some money into education so that people understand how insidious and how abusive this form of abuse truly is? People cannot wrap their mind around it. When you're living in it, you feel like that it's ghost stuff. It's invisible things that chip away at the person until they become so feeling of no self-worth, total depression, total despair, total of I have to give up and stay here. That happens a lot. Mica took her a little while. She got empowered. She finally got empowered, and she felt empowered when she walked into this office and sat down with me. She was ready to move forward, and she was upset about what had happened to her.
Oh my goodness.
So again, she's going to retain a lawyer, be empowered, walk in, be ready to move on from JP when it seems like for a long time this is something that she wanted to do but was too afraid, and now has the confidence to do so, just got recently baptized, and now she's going to kill herself?
And her eyes were opened, and she said, I didn't know. Didn't know. Now she knows. Now she knows.
When you mentioned earlier about the sacrifice.
Yes.
Do you believe that Mica's sacrifice is what it will take to get these issues the attention, the legislation?
I sure hope so.
What they deserve?
I hope it doesn't take another woman with a similar case coming out. How many times is it going to have to happen? I sure hope so.
You know what? I don't know that it will, but I certainly hope that it will. I think that Senator Luke Rankin, instead of, making his little whiny post on Facebook, should have picked up the phone and gave me a call and said,
I really want to look up this post after if I can find it.
Attorney Ward, Regina, heard what you said. I think you're right. I think this is something that needs to be addressed. I want to be held accountable and say, whatever it is, maybe it was on there and something happened. I don't know. Maybe there was another priority that took, I don't know. How about give me a call? Stand up and be what you said that you were elected to do. Be strong in this. Stand forward. Go forward. People follow him. Make a difference. If while you're elected, it's not about you. It's about us. It's about the people. It's about what we need. And I think that he is out of touch with what general society needs. But come on.
Politicians out of touch?
You what?
No. I've never heard of such a thing. Wow.
How dare you?
I'm being facetious. My God.
Be a man and pick up the phone and give me a call. Help me out here. You have the power to do it. And if you don't help me out right here, that tells me everything I need to know about you. And I hope that it tells the rest of the world about him.
Hopefully we'll get some outcomes out of this process. One last question. I've heard that John Paul Miller is not too fond of the Micah's Law movement.
Oh, get over yourself.
He is
Sorry.
eagerly attempting to leverage the removal of Micah's name from that. Is that something that's on the table, or is this going to be
He doesn't want her name on it? Whoa.
Micah's Law or nothing?
I don't really think that he has any control over that. It's really the legislative body that would determine if it's going to be also known as. It's going to have the coercive control. Of course, what we will be doing is asking the judiciary or the General Assembly to consider adding that to the bill. We want it to be called Micah's Law, not because of just Mica, but because of Micah's situation, and so much national, worldwide attention has been brought to this. When you say the word or the name Mica, what happens right here is the abusive things that she went through. So people will immediately recognize what that is and connect it. So it would not only be, a wonderful, wonderful, tribute to what her life meant here, what it ended up meaning in the end. And also it's, it's already well known. It's a household name. So let's call it what it is.
Yeah, it's a little too late. Sometimes the people choose the name before. Well, I'm going to call it Micah's Law no matter what name they choose. But again, this guy continues to make himself look guiltier and guiltier and guiltier every video that I watch. Why would you, unless you were guilty and didn't want to be affiliated with the name, because every time they think of that name, they think of you being a bad guy, JP.
Damn, she hit us with the Zoom. Did y'all see that Zoom action right there? Shane, you hit us with the Zoom action.
Wouldn't you want your wife's name affiliated with that law? One good reason, JP. I would love to hear it. Anyways, that is the whole interview with Regina Ward.
Oh, snap.
I will keep you guys updated as new information comes out with this case and further cases in the future. If you enjoyed, please.
Oh, my goodness. Y'all, by the way, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. We got almost 300 people on YouTube and 116 likes. Y'all, everybody watching, hit the thumbs up button. It helps spread the word about the live stream.